Okay, so I'm thinking about writing a comment, or I'm going to post the reply I made on the video. It's so long that it's not letting me write it in the comment. Even when I wrote my original comment, I had to break it up a couple times. So maybe I'll break it up, or maybe I'll read it here for everybody. But I wanted to post a video. So I'll post it here so people can see. People can go to the description, rather. So go to the description section of this video. I'll see if I can post the comments I wrote originally that I'm thinking might have got me blocked, so that way you can tell easily. But I can't make the video short because it'll post a video as a YouTube short, which it's harder to get to the description from there. So I'm gonna make it make sure I record this screenshot a little bit longer, so that way I can post it as a regular video. Anyways, so this is the comment, which is very long. If you see me scrolling through it right now. So I'll go ahead and read some of it here, but I'm going to read it on this other page, so that way, so it's easier to see. So it says, here are the 2 comments I think possibly could have triggered them blocking or muting me. These are the only 2 I could think possibly could make, these only 2 I could think possibly could make a moderator think they didn't want my comment showing up, because even though I was going to be, or even they even thought I was going to be a problem viewer or commenter or something. I don't know. I just hope they don't block this account too. But here are the 2 comments. And before I read the first comment, let me say some of this stuff that I'm reading off of here, I might stumble a little bit. I'm sorry if I do, but I write everything with voice dictation. Sorry, I'm having a throat issue today. I'm trying to stop that, because it's probably annoying. But I have this voice dictation, and sometimes it'll type things wrong. There's a lot of examples, and sometimes it doesn't even come close to making sense. Sometimes it's way off. But one that's not far off, this one's pretty close. Sometimes if I say police officer, it'll put it police offer. Like that one's close, though. That one is easy to pick up. Sometimes there's ones that you don't even understand how it converted it. My old iPhone 4S was perfect. It almost never messed up, and I hardly ever type anything if it's over 1 sentence. I use voice dictation even for like 2 sentences. This one constantly messing up, and it has for forever. And it's iPhone 6, by the way. I don't care about getting updated stuff. I need to get one updated pretty soon here, but so hopefully, hope to God that the new ones aren't like this. Maybe it's just this version or something. I don't know how it lasted this long, but anyway. So my comment. So here's what I wrote about my first comment. So I said, the first comment I just found. It is on the video where some people that were friends with Brian and his parents wrote a very long negative post about Gabby on their Facebook. As you can see from my comment, I did not say anything about Gabby, but I wrote a reply basically disagreeing with the premise, with Andy's premise, that you can't criticize a lazy 19-year-old. I'm not even talking about Gabby. I don't even know if what this person said is true or not, but I just disagree with Andy when he made a comment that someone that's 19 years old, if someone's 19 years old, you can't criticize any 19-year-old for not having a job and being lazy. So that's the meaning behind my comment. I did not specifically state in my comment that I was not talking about Gabby. So maybe that was a mistake. But I don't think I should have to go around worrying about the word police, thinking my comment means more than I actually stated it does. But like I said, maybe I should have put that disclaimer in my comment. So my comment said, I have had gainful employment since I was 16 years old. Even once when I changed jobs, I worked both jobs almost full time in order to give my original job full notice before I quit. So you talking about how people shouldn't criticize a lazy 19-year-old is absolutely false to me. Right? So that's what I said. And so maybe they thought I was criticizing Gabby or whatever. But even if they did, I don't think that's enough to want to block somebody. But maybe they thought, hey, if I'm going to say that, then I'll be saying other crazy crap here really soon. So who knows? But one thing I'll say about YouTube, I wish they had like a warning system where somebody could, like, the owner of the channel could warn you, like after 3 comments that are negative, you're going to get blocked or whatever, unless there's one that's really bad or whatever. But usually, give somebody 3 chances or 2 chances, and on the third one, block them, then block them like this. But, and even if you don't tell the person that's commenting, oh, this is your, strike 1, this is strike 2, this is strike 3, or, strike 1, strike 2, and then you block them. Even if you don't tell them, that's fine. But just so that way you don't forget, accidentally block somebody. When you like, maybe they misunderstood something I said, or I could have even said, you should not, like maybe I put not, maybe somebody was saying, you shouldn't criticize somebody, and they forgot to put not, they were typing, they forgot to put not, and they said you should criticize Gabby. So maybe somebody meant to say you should not criticize Gabby, and they actually typed wrong and put you should criticize Gabby, and then they get blocked. Anybody can make a mistake. Now this comment said what I meant, but maybe they misunderstood it. But somebody could even, like I said, comment something that that actually was wrong. Like actually a typo made it say the opposite of what they really meant to say. So I think that's something to be nice if YouTube did. I mean, it doesn't mean the owner of the channel has to give somebody 3 strikes. They can immediately block them, but it would be nice if YouTube gives that ability. Now, maybe they do. I don't know. Maybe they do, but I really, really doubt they do. Anyway, so here's my next one. This is the very long one. This is the one I originally thought, which I thought was what got me blocked, but I don't know which one it was. So it says, here's my very long comment that is critical of Andy. Not critical of him. I should have said that. Well, but critical of Andy's, statements, and critical of his opinions. This one is self-explanatory if you read it, but I don't think most people are going to take the time to read through it, but I wanted to post it nonetheless, and here's the URL that links to the video of Andy where I wrote the comment. So my comment said, here are 17 points where I disagree with your statement about the interaction with the police. I'm giving you a thumbs down on this video. You don't have many thumbs down, so it's probably not a big deal, but this video, you just picked apart every single thing the cops did by nitpicking over and over and over again. And let me stop for a second and say, I'm not some like pro-cop crusader. I'm constantly criticizing cops. I think misconduct absolutely happens in police departments. Also, cops make mistakes, and accountability in many, many, many places across this country is not what it should be for police. Police do lie to cover their butts. They do, or spin the truth to cover their butts, and they also outright lie. Of course, that isn't, civilians lie too, and criminals lie even more. But a lot of people who are pro-cop think I'm anti-cop. And a lot of people who are anti-cop think I'm pro-cop. And I just think I look at the situation objectively and try to, look at the whole picture. I look at situations from the point of view of the cop, from the point of view of the person who's been pulled over, especially if they're an innocent person, because mainly we're not looking at these type of videos. We're looking at videos where somebody's arrested or somebody's put in handcuffs or something like that. So I look at the point of view from an innocent person's point of view, and I look at it from the point of view of society and the need for society to proactively handle crime. So that's usually that's how I look at cop videos, because you're not usually looking at videos like the Gabby and Brian situation. But anyways, I think I decided to look at it objectively. But my first point says, it doesn't matter that it's Gabby's van, because Andy made a huge deal about this, and especially doesn't matter for a domestic violence investigation. Gabby may have had better credit, so the van's in her name, but Brian makes every single payment. Official registration matters absolutely zero for this, because Andy was talking about how had the police even bothered to check that it was Gabby's van, they would have treated her better, because they would have said, well, why is Brian trying to lock her out of her van? And I'm saying it doesn't matter for a domestic violence investigation, but he made a huge deal about this on the video. Point 2, saying that Brian sounded nervous when questioned is not a big problem to me either. Anytime a guy is accused of hitting a woman, he's going to be very nervous, especially when he's accused by the police. I think it would have made more sense, possibly, had they questioned him more without telling him what they knew from witnesses. Maybe even say they had witnesses, but not tell Brian what any witnesses said or about the topic at all. Number 3, I'm glad you mentioned that women can lie. Everybody knows that, but too many people only say believe women without ever acknowledging that women can and do lie. I'm not even coming from an anti-woman point of view. I'm a gay man that identifies with women much more than men. Men are way too often jerks, and I think the world would be better if women ruled it and men were the submissive ones. But I am very honest, objective, self-reflective, and logical. And if a woman and a man are going through a divorce, especially when children are involved in a custody hearing currently or upcoming, then hold on to your socks, because that's when false accusations start flying left and right like you can't believe. Point 4, breaking down the video at around 36 minutes, I do see your point about her maybe trying to defend Brian and not tell the truth. Of course, we don't know if she's defending him because she knows she was wrong and started the fight and was hitting him more and he lost his temper somewhat, or what. Point 5, notice how you mentioned that Gabby is nervous about the questions the cops are asking because she knows it could end in arrest, but you didn't give Brian the same consideration about it being very natural that he would be nervous with a question like, we got a call about a man hitting a woman. Point 7, not sure why you criticize the cops about asking her if she has any medication. I especially say this because I'm thinking this is after the time that Brian already mentioned that she has OCD and anxiety and everything else. I'm not sure why you take this to be such a negative point that the cops asked this, because he was basically implying it was wrong of the cops to ask that they were thinking, oh, here's an hysterical woman, where she had medication. Like, he just seemed to be like everything he was looking at with a hugely critical eye toward the cops. Point 8, inviting Brian to stand in the shade is a problem to you? Question mark. Are you not forgetting that Gabby is not only in the shade but in the air-conditioned car? Just shows you that you are nitpicking, and I hope you don't call me an abuser winning out how much you are. And I hope you don't call me an abuser winning out how much, I don't know, picking out how much you're nitpicking and being emotional of this. I don't know what I meant by that exactly. Maybe just because I'm constantly criticizing him. I don't know. I'd have to watch the video again. That was just me. That was me being annoyed because he's sitting there saying, "Oh, look at the cops. They're making sure he's sitting, in the shade and everything." Well, he's in the shade outside in the hot. She's in the shade in the air condition. And I think that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that Andy's picking on everything the cops do. Everything. If they give him a bottle of water, if they give Gabby 2 bottles of water and Brian 1 bottle of water, they're like, oh, look at him. Look at them giving Brian a bottle of water. And it's like, yeah, but they gave Gabby 2 bottles of water, but he doesn't look at that. He only looks at what they're doing for Brian. Okay, so point 8. As far as giving them a breathalyzer test, I don't know why it matters in a DV case. They could always ask if they'll take a breathalyzer, but I don't think they can force them unless they have probable cause. And if you notice, it's my text here says if they have probable cause. And I said probable cause, but the voice dictation didn't hear it right. Then continuing on, it says, and a great way to get probable cause is to get one of them to admit that they've had a drink recently. But of course, you're criticizing all these questions like it's the wrong thing to do. Point 9, the witnesses at around 52 minutes is kind of seeming to help Brian more than anything. And nobody is mentioning that Brian punched Gabby or anything like that. So the witnesses, let me see if I can... Hold on, I'm going to put this down so my voice might get a little echoey. So he's sitting there saying about how they're listen to the witnesses and everything like that. But the witness statement they played in the car when on this video of Andy's. I'm sitting here listening and saying the story they got from Brian and Gabby could match up. so I don't either. Andy's acting like, oh no, you're not listening. You're not listening to the witness. That's not what Brian said or whatever. But it's kind of like, yeah, they kind of. It's just you can see how things get, how things get wrong. And so when he was saying like you're not listening to the witnesses, to me it seemed like that. That I think they're listening. That Brian and Gabby's story is absolutely plausible. Just because they, when you see a man and woman fighting, you don't think, usually you're not going to think the woman is the aggressor, unless it's very, very clear. Normally, you're automatically going to think, okay, the guy's in the wrong, unless you're clearly convinced, unless 70% of it's being done by the woman. At least 70%, you're going to be like, it's the man's fault. If it looks like the woman's 60% at fault, you're going to be like, nah, the man's probably still at fault. Like, it's got to be at least 70% or more before you're like, okay, well, hold on, maybe it is the woman's fault. At least for most people, right? Crap, how did I lose my spot? Oh, I somehow scrolled to the bottom. Okay, point 8. Legally speaking, I don't think it's a legal defense to punch or hit your significant other because you don't want them locking you out of your shared phone and shared vehicle, even maybe driving away. It's morally understandable, at least to me, but I don't think that matters legally. And that's just what I'm thinking. I'm not sure, completely sure on that. Because he's saying, well, of course, Gabby hit him. He's, locking out of the car or not giving her this back or whatever. I don't know if that's legally understandable from the cop's point of view. Point 11. I do agree with you that they could have done a better job at questioning Brian in a more open-ended way. But when you have both Brian and Gabby more or less saying the same thing and the witness not disagreeing with him, it basically gets wrapped up pretty quick. This is not a big investigation. Of course, I think they're out there for like an hour. Point 12. You didn't mention this in the video at all, but I really didn't like how you made sure to let Brian know that he was absolutely classified as a victim of the cops. I didn't like how, Brian, Andy never mentioned this in the video, but I didn't like how the cops, made sure that Brian knew he was classified as a victim. I thought just because, or let me go ahead and go on victim. The main reason I feel that way is probably because he is a male, whether he was the victim or not. But probably some of the reason also is because there was a mutual hitting. There was a mutual hitting or physical contact by each person to one degree or another. So when they specifically told him he was the victim, it could have emboldened him in the future. And I don't like how they let Brian know if Gabby contacted him during the next 12 hours or whatever, that she would be arrested. But he was allowed to contact her because he was the victim. I really didn't like that. I wouldn't even like that to be told to a female victim, because that just encourages the victim to call the aggressor. At least I think so. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe there is a good reason to let the victim know that, but that's just my kind of gut feeling. Not just gut feeling, but my gut feeling and the reasoning, from the information that I'm aware of that I could come up with, Point 13. I don't know what's wrong with you about being so emotional and griping over a 39-year-old cop trying to offer advice at about 1 hour, 2 minutes. I think this is just a great piece of evidence that you are not being objective with in this video. You're looking at almost everything the cops did as some horrible action they took, even if they probably have even if they quote unquote probably have good intentions, because Andy kept on saying that. Even you constantly saying that they probably are trying to do the right thing is just really gross to me. It's absolutely clear that the cops are trying to do what's best. So for you to add probably to that is just messed up. You notice it says that I just messed up, but it should say is just messed up. because he kept on, I think that's kind of clear, but he said, how that it was patronizing or whatever that the 39-year-old cop offered advice to Gabby when he has children her age or almost her age, or either her age or almost her age. That's not bad. He was trying to help her, and he kept on going, but he was probably had good intentions. No, he absolutely had good intentions. I can't say absolutely for certain, but I think it's clear from all the evidence that yes, it was good intentions. He wasn't trying to do the wrong thing. So Andy is just being disgustingly emotional, and had this been the first video of his I've watched, I would have, selected I never wanted to see his channel again. Of course, and I'll just say this honestly, a lot of times when I see a channel, of course, there's so many channels on YouTube, it's hard to be fair when you're rating all of them. You kind of have to just go off of gut instinct. But a lot of times if I see a video and I'm like, oh, I don't like this video, I'll try to look at some other videos real quick before I select I don't ever want to see the channel again, because I don't know if it's just one bad video. But that's, like I said, it's hard to do because there's, you could live your whole life and never get through all the content on YouTube. So it's hard to give everybody a fair shake. You have to kind of go off of gut feeling and what you run across. But anyways, I wanted to slap Andy in the face over that, because him sitting there, like, they probably have good intentions. It's just, like, I would have thought maybe he's trying to play to his audience, but I don't think that. I think Andy at least he acts like he's open-minded and stuff, and he can admit when he's wrong. So I don't think he's trying to play to his audience, but then again, he blocked me, or somebody blocked me, so that makes me think, maybe it's just his shtick to be like, hey, I'm open-minded, I can do this. Did he change his mind about Dog Bounty Hunter? You remember that fiasco? Did he change his mind about that? Or were people unsubscribing at a big enough rate that he changed his mind to keep his fans? I'm just taking him as word that his mind was changed, even though I think Dog's a glory hound and a fool, but that doesn't mean he's not a good bounty hunter. At least he has been before. He's done some good things, but dogs act like he's like some god, and he's great at everything, and he's just like a miracle worker, and really just a regular bounty hunter. And most of the stuff on the TV is bull crap. I like his shows. I'll watch any show he has. I'll watch any show that comes out of his. I like his shows, but that doesn't change my mind that he's a glory hound and a fool. He's just he's more PR. He's more how it looks than actual substance. That doesn't mean he can't do a job though. Anyways, okay, so I'm talking too much about each point, but so point 14, there is absolutely no evidence that Gabby started crying again around 1 hour and 9 minutes, specifically because she realized she should have been more honest. That is speculation, and you're treating it as fact. Because he was like, oh, look, Gabby's crying. She's crying because she realized she shouldn't have lied, and now she knows she should have just told the truth about Brian. Andy's not saying, that's kind of what I think's happening. He said that is what is happening. And that, so again, he's speculating. If you want to speculate, fine, but he should make that clear. But no, he said it as fact. So that's very annoying that he does this. Like I said, I think, Andy's being completely emotional, and this video is crap. It was so bad I had to put a thumbs down. And I almost never put thumbs down on videos, even if I don't like them. Because I feel like if I put thumbs down on them, then it might take it might not realize I'm saying this person did a really crappy job. They might take the content. They might go, well, he put a thumbs down in this video, and it's about Gabby, and it's about true crime. So let me never show him those videos again about crime and about Gabby and about the Gabby and Brian situation. So I almost never put thumbs down on a video because I'm worried that I don't know how the algorithm will analyze my thumbs down. Point 15. Then shortly after you say that the cop should have put both Brian and Gabby in jail, then shortly after you say that the cop should have put both Brian and Gabby in jail, do you think that really would have been best thing for them? Do you really think that would have helped Gabby? I kind of feel like you saying that shows that you don't know what the cop should have done, because according to you, she is clearly a victim and they didn't investigate enough. So why would putting the real victim in jail be a good thing? You don't know what you really think should have been done. it shocked me when he said, well, they made some kind of comment or applied something. Maybe it was off the cuff, and then he kind of didn't think about it and didn't say it again. Maybe it might not have been one time. But he was saying, instead of putting both in jail, you think that would have helped? So putting neither in jail, that was horrible. But putting both in jail, great. I mean, that's ridiculous. And you definitely shouldn't put somebody in jail and give him a record for domestic violence, and especially a man, unless you're sure he did it. I mean, you don't have to be completely sure, but you don't want to put a man falsely in there, even a woman. But if a man has a domestic violence, even though it's only a misdemeanor, that's going to be a problem in your career in the future. But Andy's sitting there saying, Gabby's clearly a victim, and then he goes, put them both in jail. Like, that's just ridiculous. It shows how ridiculous he's being in this video. Point 16, at around 1 hour, 11 minutes, Gabby starts crying again, saying that she doesn't want to be separated from Brian. I said, wait, hold on a minute. That would be great evidence that she's not scared of Brian in the least, and that she really does have problems, and she knows it. Now, I'm not saying this is true. I'm just saying that from the cop's point of view. Now, let me finish on. I say many women that are abused have some attachment to the abuser, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they are crying because they don't want to spend a night apart from him. Even if she is an abused victim of repeated domestic violence, she could have enjoyed the fact that they were being forced apart for one night. She didn't enjoy it whatsoever, but I noticed you didn't comment on that because it didn't fit your assumptions. This is a huge case of confirmation bias for a lot of your points. I think that's clear. Point 17. In fact, it's because it's very possible let me start over. Point 17. In fact, it's very possible what caused Brian to snap and kill Gabby was because Gabby was planning on leaving Brian, and she might have been planning on leaving Brian because the cops talked to her about how even if you love someone, sometimes a relationship is too toxic and it's better to be apart. So maybe she was discussing that or saying that they need to spend some time apart. One part of me says no because she was freaking out so much about being away from him. But actually I'm literally just thinking now as I'm writing this, maybe after she spent over a week by herself in a hotel room when Brian flew back to Florida, she decided she could be without him after all. Then when he got back, things started getting toxic again after a few days, so she mentioned about separating. She was going off of the advice that was given by the cops, and that made Brian snap. So I'm saying there, I think it's pretty clear. At one point, I think it was the female cop, said about, or maybe it wasn't female cop, maybe it was female cop and male cop anyway, but saying that, that they sometimes you have to be separated. You can love somebody, but if it's toxic, you got to separate. And toxic doesn't mean domestic violence or abusing. It just means it's, constantly, turmoil. And so it'd be quite interesting if actually the cops did help her so much that she decided, she was going to leave him and he killed her. That was just a point that was, like I said, when I was writing it, I was like, wait, as I'm literally writing this point, I'm literally kind of thinking about, what might have happened. But anyway, okay, so that's the end of the 17 points, but then I go on, there's some more of my comment that I write, and I said, I think cops too often do a lot of messed up crap and commit misconduct throughout this country, and I think, and it says countability, even though it should be accountability. God, is that even a word? Countability? Maybe it is. The ability to count, I guess. So I think accountability is sorely lacking it says and way too many places, but it should be in way too many places. In way too many places. But also people throughout this country and our society today go too quickly to blaming the cops for actions that are reasonable that they've taken. I don't count this scenario in either category, meaning not any kind of misconduct or how society is too quickly to judge police. I think this is outside the normal issues around policing. This is a whole separate matter. I only mention that because I'm constantly attacking the police for things that they do wrong and abusing their power, but I also see police being attacked when it's not appropriate because so many people are starting to hate the police more and more. And it's now the popular thing to do to criticize police. Like I said, I'm not considering that your motive either explicitly or subconscious. That's your motive either explicitly or subconsciously. I'm just saying mainly stay in this. I'm just saying mainly stay in this, let you know. I'm just mainly saying this, I guess, to let you know that I'm constantly criticizing the police for certain things. So I think the cops could have done more to question both Brian and Gabby, and they could have questioned in a more open-ended manner. They couldn't have, they could have questioned more and listened a little bit more without jumping in with any doubts about their own personal stories too quick in the conversation. But ultimately, when you have a witness more or less backing up the story of both Brian and Gabby, I don't know what else you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to turn every incident into a huge investigation. And I think some domestic violence laws are becoming more stupid and more stupid. In a lot of states, if two brothers have a physical fight that's mutual, that's considered domestic violence, and they have to go to jail, even if the brothers don't live together. So cops might be losing respect for the domestic violence laws because they just keep on expanding. I don't have any reason to believe that played a significant role here. I'm just mentioning it. I think here Gabby and Brian had more or less the same story to another degree, to one degree or another, or to one degree or another. That is, that it made more sense that they were more or less telling the truth about who is the aggressor. And Gabby absolutely accepted. Well, it said it put the wrong accepted. That's voice dictation again for you. Accepted the role of the aggressor. The cops needed to arrest Gabby or arrest them both. That would not have helped. But I think it's human nature to want to see a clear sign and a clear government employee that clearly didn't a government employee that clearly didn't handle the situation correctly, meaning the police. But I don't think that's true for the points and reasons that I've mentioned above. Some people may say I'm foolish or ignorant of a certain situation, and that's absolutely possible. But I'm looking at what the police did, what the police are supposed to do, and the evidence they had to go off of, and if they can't spend 2 days if they can't spend 2 days investigating the situation, they can't even spend 5 hours investigating it. It's simple potential domestic violence incident. Handle it and you move on. But I'm not even considering my lack of condemnation of the police based on the time they had to handle the situation. I'm putting a limit on the time they had in my head. So basically I'm not saying like, oh, they did a good job for since they're only supposed to spend an hour on an investigation or whatever, they should, they weren't really allowed to spend more. I'm not saying, oh, since they only have an hour or a little over an hour to investigate, they did good. I'm saying no matter how much they investigated, this is how I feel about it. I hope that makes sense. I'm just mentioning that they only have so long to stay on calls as a side point. That's basically what I'm saying. This is just a side point. I'm not factoring the time into my main scorecard of them. I'm just saying that's a side point. The end, basically. So, anyways, probably nobody got through it. Nobody listened to the end, and that's okay. But just in case somebody did want to, because I'm one of those people who sometimes like to actually get the full story, I thought I would make it a little easier on you guys to do. So, that's it.